When they first appear here, it will be in crafts. They will be here in crafts, motherships, crafts, and that will be what people need to see. But as far as them stepping out, it depends on what frequency, what dimension we're in when this occurs, because where we are right now, it's just too uncomfortable. So who we will see first as far as an extraterrestrial will be whatever species is the closest to our frequency at the time it occurs. So, and also I would say they would probably use a humanoid type, either a humanoid or a type hybrid, if there are hybrids.
Welcome back. I'm here again with Nancy Thames. Nancy, welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay, so in the last episode, we talked about your interactions with ETs and interdimensionals. In this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about disclosure and how these entities have communicated to you it will most likely manifest. So let's start with that. Is the government going to tell us anything?
I think they already have. I mean, why would we be having congressional hearings if it wasn't true? The whistleblowers have put out a lot of stuff. They haven't come out and said that none of it is true. You know, I think that they've put out enough like leak information. You know, they're preparing us for something. They know something, but if they know what I know, even if they don't know what I know, it's going to all work out okay, because we are going through an ascension, evolutionary process, and I'm sure they know this. So, you know, on one hand, you could see it that they're just waiting for us to wake up, and then they wouldn't have to come out and say all these things. But I also think that they're waiting for the James Webb telescope to find something. I think that that would be a perfect way for humanity to be told we're not alone, teetotally, you know, other than just something in our sky, you know, but it would be so many light years away that would kind of get people acclimated into more understanding, you know, into all this. Because I think things are happening or speeding up. I see things as speeding up. Things are occurring really fast. And I think, you know, certain events are going to happen, and it does not matter what our government does, because extraterrestrial interdimensional disclosure is totally different from government. And I know for a fact that they're reaching out to humanity, you know, through people like me. Maybe they've tried in the past. Rumors are they have tried in the past. I was not there. I do not know firsthand, and I don't ask questions like that, you know, but you have to, the way that I try to look at things from a human perspective and a interdimensional perspective. So the way that they would see government, a lot of the, like our president or, you know, a lot of these government people are temporary seat holders. We are a big, big number, humanity. And, you know, when we get to a certain point to where we're all on the same frequency, coming together and uniting, we're going to be very unstoppable and very powerful. What better way for them to reach out in big numbers to the people that really matter? Because governments, they change over, their temporary seat holders, and it seems like they can't get anything done because of all the negativity in the politics. And politics, in their eyes, is a negative aspect of humanity.
When the United States and China clash, the world will never be the same, especially when forces beyond reality threaten to intervene. What if the United States went to war with the People's Republic of China? How would these rivals fight for supremacy on land, sea, air, and across the stochastic streams of time? What wonder weapons would be unleashed? What horrors would emerge from the irradiated sludge of the South China Sea? What heroes would rise and forever change the course of history? Tread into the deepest and darkest dimensions of the multiverse, gaze through a kaleidoscope of fractured realities, and bear witness to the disturbing visions of World War III from today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War, China. Available now from Baen Books at baen.com.
Anything that separates us, divides us, picks sides, cause opposition and conflict is negative. In their realm, these things do not occur. These things, they've evolved past all these type things. And eventually we will too, not overnight, but we will too, because it's a no-win situation. And we're going to realize it's getting us nowhere. So there's a lot of things that it's going to change. And all of it has to do with humanity. We are the disclosure. It does not matter about our government. It is us, human beings. We are divine. We are unique. We have a purpose, and we all came here, whether we remember or not, with a purpose. And we are going to wake up and start acting out on a soul level, what our soul purposes are, understanding how beautiful the human experience can be. We're going to take over and change the human experience from the way that it's been for generations of a slave to a program system that really didn't serve us well. You know, we work, we focus on making money, keeping up with the Jones, paying for all these things. And then by the time we get to a retirement age, we're unhealthy. You know, our health fails. And these are all things that have been done in this 3D realm. You know, there's toxins in our air, our food, our water, all of the social media, all television, especially not social media, but the television, news stations and stuff. All these things, our pharmaceutical companies, banking system, religious systems are all owned by super elite human beings that love the control that they have over the planet. And I've heard a number of, there's like 100 controlling families. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just something that popped in my head that I read. So we have all these elites controlling and manipulating us because it lines their pocketbooks, and they simply love to be in control. But as we evolve, which they never wanted us to reach this ascension or this part of evolution, all those things were done intentionally to keep us dumbed down, easy to manipulate and control, and shorten our lifespans because they cannot make money on healthy, intelligent human beings. So, you know, as our world and earth changes and we change, we're going to start choosing to eat healthier, demanding that our air and our water and our foods not have these toxins and these chemicals, demanding that all this technology be put out for us to use. You know, we should have free energy. We should not be using fossil fuels. We have all forms of energy that they've kept suppressed. We should not be taking synthetic drugs. Everything we ever needed was put here in some medicinal form for our use. And they're sitting on all this technology. So we're going to start living longer lifespans. And with that, becoming happier human beings, you know, with happiness, there'll be a lot less sickness. And plus, there should be no disease or sickness anyway. So once all these things start coming out and, you know, we start getting it all into process into our life and a new way of thinking and living, things are going to change. And it's going to be for the betterment of humanity. And they've even showed me visions of AI technology and how AI technology is a man-made tool. We have to keep it as a man-made tool. If we stay in this negative realm that we're in, it will be misused in a destructive way. So, but if we get ourselves out of this negative realm and we use it to where it benefits all of humanity, what will occur over time is that we will let AI manufacture, produce everything that we basically need to live on this planet. And we will learn to, rather than using the word money hungry or whatever, we'll learn a way of acquiring abundance and a sharing system to share these things. And we will start to have jobs that are not, we won't even call them jobs. We'll call them more something like service to self, service to family, service to community. And we will only work 4 or 5 hours, maybe at the most, with most of our focus of our time being on ourselves and our families.
To advertise on Through a Glass Darkly, email throughaglassdarkly@gmail.com.
And we will live longer lifespans and enjoy the human experience. So that's part of what this evolutionary process is for us to understand how we can change for future generations. Starting with us, we can start for future generations, make the quality of life and the human experience actually be a beautiful experience, because a lot of people, in my eyes, are not getting a good human experience because, there's so many factors. There's poverty, there's sickness, there's disease, and all these things, anxieties, depression, blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on. So we have got to realize that these old ways, program ways, do not serve us, because we want to thrive and go beyond. We don't want to go head towards a third world war. We want to be a successful society that moves into the cosmic realm and understands that those extraterrestrial individual beings are part of our family. We are all one. We are all connected. And they're not here to take over or control or do anything. They're billions of years ahead of us. If that was going to be the case, it would have already occurred. But they're here to lend us a hand. They see us as children, juveniles. We're like juvenile children. And we're reaching the point to where, without the proper guidance, our technology could destroy us if used the wrong way. So they're here to assist. They're not going to come down here and fix and change anything. We make our mistakes. That's part of our evolution and growth. We have to learn from the bad to make us to become the better version of ourselves.
Now, have you heard these 2 years, 2026, 2027, some event that is supposed to take place? Are you familiar with this? And do you have any thoughts on what that might mean?
They don't give me dates. In their reality, there is no such thing as time. That is a man-made constructed thing, just like our religions are man-made constructs. They don't. There is no religions. They believe in the creator source. So, and here on Earth, all humans try to humanize. It's our way of rationalizing and trying to understand, but they are not human beings. They are beings that have evolved billions of years ahead of us. And we have to stop trying to see them in a humanistic way or thinking that they think like a human, because there is no such thing as time. For them, everything is happening all at once. We constructed time. So something is occurring. It's happening now. We're in it. I mean, it's happening. The time frame, that it all occurs, I don't know. I think a lot of it depends on how receptive we are to these things, how we have to raise our frequencies. That's what's got all this attention, and all, not just a few races, but all races are watching and putting frequencies of energy, frequencies of love, unity, and stuff, trying to help us, because they cannot come in here and do this for us, because we are here on free will. We make soul contracts. So the only people that they really contact are people that are either through a soul contract or direct lineage. I am a direct lineage. I was an interdimensional, and I came here to Earth for this. Other people even if they're an earthbound soul, they made agreements in their soul contract to do this. So many of us are here a part of this that we're going to figure it out. We're going to wake up and remember these things. How soon? I don't know. But these things are all happening, and it's going to happen. I just don't know exactly a date. It could happen, I wouldn't say tomorrow because there's too many people not on board, but it's about us and our frequencies, raising our frequencies, and then whatever's meant to be is going to happen regardless,
Now, how will this manifest? Will people start to see these beings? Will they start to experience other things? Like how?
Here's how.
Walk me through what that might look like.
Here's how the way I perceive it. Like I told you, they are at a very, very high frequency. So the closer we move up our frequency, we move into higher dimensions, which gets us closer to their frequency, still not quite their high frequency. So what will occur is that when they first appear here, it will be in crafts. They will be here in crafts, motherships, crafts, and that will be what people need to see. But as far as them stepping out, it depends on what frequency, what dimension we're in when this occurs, because where we are right now, it's just too uncomfortable. So who we will see first as far as an extraterrestrial will be whatever species is the closest to our frequency at the time it occurs. So, and also I would say they would probably use a humanoid type, either a humanoid or type hybrid, if there are hybrids, which the way I see that and the way other people see that is totally different ways. For me, if they did make a human hybrid with a extraterrestrial, it would make sense to me that the purpose of that would be because it would be very close to the same frequency. It would be half human, half extraterrestrial, and it would be a frequency that we could tolerate. But I'm telling you, from my experience, if they came down here with the frequency of the higher dimensional ones, it would just, we can't do it right now. We can't do that. Our brains wouldn't be able to handle it. And they wouldn't like the density on Earth. So we have to evolve and get ourselves in a higher dimension. And then whatever race or hybrid race that will be introduced to us, which would be designed for that purpose, they're not a dying race. None of them are a dying race at all. It would be for the purpose of evolution for humanity. And that would get us right on close to the same frequency, and we could interact and actually hold hands, touch, and stuff like that.
Now, are there any of them among us now, like walking the streets, where they're clearly visible, but people won't recognize them?
I have seen humanoid type extraterrestrials. I think they can come down here for short periods of time. For a period of time, they can lower their frequency, but they can't do it for a long period. But they can come down for a short period of time and interact. And I have seen them in markets, like shopping, like at stores, and it would be stores that you would never even think that they would go to, but it's in stores to where they seem to never get the clothing quite right, which stands out to me, but also it is I sense their frequency. I feel their frequency. They know my frequency because my frequency is a little above the human frequency, but that's because of the interdimensional extraterrestrials. So I know when I see one and they gravitate towards me and I gravitate towards them. And where if I'm like, I've even noticed one at a checkout at a store, and I was already checking out, and telepathically, this male extraterrestrial managed to come all the way up in the line and get right behind me. And he was just asking them telepathically, could you move me? Could I move ahead of you? Could I move ahead of you? You know, and he ends up right there. So I've seen them do stuff like that. And another place that I've heard that they like to go is Las Vegas, because they blend in really good. You know, they can wear whatever and blend in there. And for me, the ones that I've seen here in the area where I live, they don't get the clothes right at all. You know, it's just anybody, if you were looking for it, you would immediately notice it. But most people aren't expecting anything like that. And they have their frequency lowered that they're not feeling it. But for some reason, I can pick up on it.
How do they get the clothing wrong?
It's like not in style. It's like for me, I would use the word hippie looking. Like they're just trying to look like real cool and laid back, you know, like, but it's, you know, we're not in the 60s or 70s anymore, you know, but that's the impression I got from what I saw.
Yeah. So like wide collars and like kind of bell bottom like pants.
Yeah. Kind of. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay. All right. And in terms of how this all progresses, so you would expect to see kind of craft first and then some sort of interaction with kind of closer humanoid types. Are there any particular candidates that you see most likely, like Greys, Nordics, reptilians?
Well, the Greys have a very, very high frequency. Reptilians have a very high frequency. It would have to be humanoids, you know, any race of humanoids. And, you know, I'm sure they have their versions of hybrids too, because this is not just, you know, this is many, many races that have been working towards this. So they would have their versions of a maybe human extraterrestrial hybrid. And you have to understand that hybrids, the way that people have received that they came down and stole eggs and all that kind of stuff, if you look at the way where we are with our technology at this particular time, and they're billions of years ahead of us, our perception of how these things were done was incorrect. And I'm not saying that these people are lying. I'm not saying that they didn't perceive it the way they did, because it was very real to them. It was real. And the way that they perceived it was real. But in reality, it probably wasn't, because most of the time they were probably blacked out, and then their brain came up with all these ways to try to cope. So, but for example, to show you a difference in technology, you know, you and I are sitting here talking on technology. Technology is a separate entity from us. We carry it with us. In their reality, their higher consciousness is their technology. They can manifest anything they want. It is not a separate entity that they have to carry around. It is in their higher consciousness. And they are biological. They are not AI at all. So they learned how to master the AI, and, you know, it never took over any of their races or anything like that, where we've seen that on television shows, and people say, oh, you know, and I know that Elon Musk is playing with or playing with chips in the brain and stuff, but we'll figure out that those things are not, that's not the way to go.
What about the potential for space exploration and things like that? Is that something that will quicken as we kind of go along this path of disclosure? In other words, I know you said they don't really think in terms of time, but are we close to being able to explore the cosmos,
yes,
not just the solar system?
Absolutely. And it's just like what we call the extraterrestrials, like the Greys and Nordics and all these ones, the interdimensionals have the most technology, and they are the oldest race. And they have gifted a lot of technology to these races to help them become interdimensional, and plus they've evolved to that point. But as we ascend and we use things in the right way, they will gift us with these technologies. We were seated here on Earth. This is not, if you look at it, and if you look at the biology of our bodies and stuff, our whole birth process, it's very difficult for us to even birth babies here. So there's a lot of things that we've overlooked that are indicators. For example, even our bodies, we get a lot of sun exposure. We get extreme colds and hot. So, this was not where we originated from. I'm truly positive of that. And so it's always been intended for us to reach a point and become part of the cosmic realm and then get us out, evolving even further and learning more things. It's going to be a never ending thing. We'll never get to the point where we know it all. It's going to continue on and on and on.
But do you think that's going to happen sooner rather than later, or?
Well, a lot of things have to occur. Like we have to become better versions of ourselves. We have to ascend to higher levels so that our frequencies are more compatible. And, but we have to become more positive because they're not going to let a negative races interact with other civilizations up there. And there's many civilizations that we don't even know about. There's more galaxies and more universes. It's never ending. And our souls are immortal. Our Earth experience is very short compared to anything that other experiences that we will experience. So based on your communication with them, are our souls kind of only bound to Earth, or are some of us, them, kind of living an experience here? Is it kind of all the above? What have they told you about that? There's different types of souls. I'm an interplanetary soul, which means I came from a higher dimension. And this is my first time on Earth, and for my children's first time on Earth. And I think we're part of a group of interdimensionals that travel throughout the universe looking for different species that are on the verge of ascension and becoming part of the cosmic realm. And I think that's probably what we do up there is, we travel all over looking, waiting, preparing for this type thing. So I would say there's Earth-based souls, interplanetary based souls, and there's probably angelic realm souls, because the angelic realm is a whole different realm that I'm not really that familiar with, but I do know that it's there and it's not in our dimension. So, there are certain people that come here to try to have peace on this planet. They're from the angelic realm. And then there's Earth-based souls that they come back to Earth until they get to the point that they've experienced everything that they wanted to experience in a physical form. So when they get to the point and they've achieved what they wanted to do here on Earth, then they can choose to do something else. Or if they, to the point their soul is complete, they can stay in a non-physical etheric state up in the highest dimensions or highest realm, which would be around the creator source. And, there's no end to that. But between that, you can choose, if you want to try other things, you could try being a dolphin. You could try being an interdimensional or extraterrestrial. You could try going to another planet, or this is a very, very short experience that we're experiencing here.
Now, as part of this process of disclosure, at some point, are we going to gain more understanding of our history, in
Absolutely.
history, things like that?
Yes.
And
But
how?
it's not going to come from the government. It's going to be part of our awakening, our ascension, part of our evolutionary process. And I don't know if it will just be, I've been sitting here thinking about how they would do this, if it's going to be downloads. It's really strange. Like, I know when I get downloads, it's just the information is there. It's there. And it's not like you hear a voice or a sound telling you. It's just all of a sudden your consciousness increases and your awareness and understanding and your intelligence increases. So it's not going to be like you're going to hear voices or anything like that. It's just part of our evolution. And it's like we are, if you look at it like this, like we're an antenna, okay? And as our antenna gets higher and higher, it gets more information because all this information is out there. And it's just like we're tuning in. We keep tuning into the information or the intelligence. We're tuning into more and more. So does that make sense?
Yeah,
I'm trying to
does.
figure out a way to say this without it sounding like they're just going to go down here. For me, here in the 3D realm and my son, they gave us a Kundalini awakening. And that absolutely scared me to death. And I think a lot of people may experience that or have already experienced that. And that is like these electrical, well, it's not electrical, but it feels, it's again, the brain doesn't know how to perceive these things, but it's like these surges of energy came down. I was asleep and it woke me up and my body pulled up to a sitting position, my head up, and it was like surges came down, went back up, fall back down, come back up, surges, fall down. It's 3 times for me. For my son, it happened to him. He was out hiking through the woods, a nature hike, and he took sit down by a tree to take a little rest or a nap, and it hit him. And it was just like one big surge hit him and did the same thing. And to be honest with you, I didn't even tell anybody about it for at least a month because I didn't know what it was. I didn't ask for it. I wasn't working. I'm not a person that sits around and meditates or, does all that kind of stuff. So, I wasn't sure if maybe I had died in my sleep. I really didn't understand it. So a month later, I mentioned it to my son and come to find out he had experienced something too similar. So we finally pieced it all together, what it was. And we both noticed that all of a sudden we started getting all this downloads or it wasn't, it's not necessarily downloads. It's more like we're getting more in tune with the frequencies around us. And so when I had my next face-to-face with the interdimensionals, I asked them what happened to me. And they said, what do you think happened to you? Because they always would tell me, you already know. It's already in there. You already know. So that's what had happened. I had a Kundalini awakening. And I don't know if they did that to kind of like speed us up to get us to doing to what we're doing now, getting information out here and stuff. And also to give us the confidence to understand for me, I knew I was getting this information, but I kept wanting to know where it was coming from. I wanted to label it, name it. But that's the thing. We cannot humanize information that comes from the interdimensional extraterrestrials. They do not put names and labels on things. It is what it is. And they're giving you the information and it's for you to use. And they don't have to do all the things that we have to do here in our human world to rationalize and identify things. They don't do that. So I had to figure that out, So that was part of that awakening for me too, is to understand that stop humanizing or questioning, it is what it is, so to speak.
How recently did you have that Kundalini?
I think it's a little over 2 years now. Yeah.
Okay. And then when was the last time you had a face-to-face with one of these entities?
Probably a couple of months ago, but when I'm not every single night, I'm having face to face, but it's not as in the most conscious. I don't feel like it's the same as me standing there like I am right here, touching, holding hands, and, feeling the temperature of their skin. It's like it's a different way. It's like they're transporting me in a different way, and then I become conscious on craft. So it's very strange. And then sometimes I'll wake up walking back to the room, but then again, a lot of times in my dream state, it's constantly activity of experiences, downloads, and things trying to help me to understand and figure more out. It's like they're like physical experiences, although I can't say that they are completely. I don't understand it all, to be honest with you, but I know that, I'm very tired, and sometimes I even have like symptoms, like wake up feeling like physical. It's like I can feel pain or I can feel sensations like it's real, but I can't prove that. So sometimes it is face to face where it's like, just like standing here like this, but then sometimes it's like I'm experiencing it, but the means of transportation changes. And then, I just wake up in the bed, and then it's like, I'm like, I don't know, but I sure do feel weird. I'm tired, and, and I even feel exhausted at times.
I think you said earlier in the interview that there have been rumors that they've tried to disclose before, but those attempts failed. What do those rumors say was attempted when?
Well, I mean, I have the Facebook group, Time for Disclosure. We've never been alone. We are the disclosure. And then I have a website. So I've done a lot of research, and I see lots of posts that people put. So the story is that at least 2 or 3 times that extraterrestrials have tried to talk with the government, and they asked them, they wanted to even offered a trade of technology, and all they wanted in return was that we close up all the nuclear weapons and all the plants and stuff like that. And from what the story is that no governments in any countries would agree to that. Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was that one with, what was his name? Thor.
Valiant Thor.
Yeah, Valiant Thor. And then there was another one where the Greys, after the 1947 Roswell incident, at some point, it was either that or the King's Landing. I can't think right now, but one of those, that there was a surviving Grey, and through that Grey, they were able to communicate, and that race of beings came down and tried to make some agreements, and the government declined. And then another story I heard was that another race that we don't even hear about, that actually did not breathe the air that we breathe. So they could not come out of the craft at all. And we did not go into their craft, but somehow or another, there was a communication box involved that they used to communicate. And again, we wouldn't agree with them. And I never did catch what the name of that was, but that's a species that nobody even talks about or knows about.
Do you, or even they, have any final words for the audience or messages?
Don't believe everything I say or anybody says. Follow your heart. Look within, figure out who you are. Our world is changing. We are changing. We are evolving. We're going through an ascension and an evolutionary change. Don't be afraid. Face your fears. Change is not always a negative thing. And in this case, it is definitely not negative. They're trying to get us out of the negative programming. So look within. Ask your subconscious to open up and help you with all these things going on in the world, and don't close the door just because we don't understand and because it goes against everything we were brought up to believe. You have to understand, as the world changes, sometimes we have to change with it. So, look within. Try to be a better version of yourself.
All right, Nancy, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. It was an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we'll learn more soon.
I think we will.
If you enjoyed today's video, please hit like and subscribe, and also hit the notification button so you can be notified whenever I post new content. Thank you. Now, if you're enjoying the channel and you want to support it, there are several things you can do. In fact, there are 5 things you can do. The first thing you can do is just buy my books. I got plenty of books out in the market right now, and I would prefer that folks buy a book rather than giving me direct support, because they get something out of it. They get a real tangible product. The second way you can support me is by becoming a member on YouTube or becoming a patron on Patreon. And just go to either site and it'll explain everything. The third way you can support the channel is by checking out my merch site, which is here. There's plenty of stuff that you can get to support the channel. And I'd appreciate that you have it and can wear it. Not only do you help support the channel, but you also help promote the channel, and I appreciate that. The fourth way that you can support the channel, and this is really easy, is anytime you want to buy something on Amazon, literally just go to the description below and click on any link, literally any link. The channel gets a cut of that, and it costs you no extra money. You just go through the link, as I'm part of the Amazon Affiliates Club. The fifth and final way you can support the channel is through donations. Now, I don't prefer these because it's more of an expression of gratitude, but you don't really get anything out of it as a subscriber to the channel. However, if you decide to do these options, there's 2 options. There's Buy Me a Coffee, which is a separate site, and there's also, you can go through YouTube with either a super chat, super sticker, or a super thanks. Again, I prefer Buy Me a Coffee because that organization takes less money than Amazon does. But either way, I appreciate any support you are willing to give the channel. So thank you very much, and keep watching. I really appreciate it.